Boy, do I have a lot to show you today. I have 3 new products to show you, 2 projects to do with those products, and I'm even going to take you to another part of the basement that you don't normally see. So down here at the end of this hall is my woodworking shop. I don't do a lot of woodworking, but I built the cabinets that you saw in that other room. My latest project is this desk that I just made for my laser engraver. So when I got the laser engraver, it was fall and the weather was still pretty nice, and I was just using it out in the garage because when you cut wood, it gives off smoke. After all, it is burning it. So I would just use it with the garage door open, and that was fine. But I'd like to use it in the basement here more. So AlgoLaser just sent me this enclosure, and I haven't actually tried it out. It's been on there for a few weeks, but I haven't vented it out the window yet because I just got the rest of the stuff I needed. So you see there's a hose going up there. That's just like a dryer hose. And in the window, I've got a product made by Martinson Manufacturing. So this is a plexiglass insert. You take the screen out of the window, and then you put this in its place, and you just stick it on with double-sided tape, and that seems to be holding it really well. It's been up there for a little while. And then you just open the window, plug the hose into the hole, and that keeps all the bugs out. There's a screen on the end of the hose, so no bugs can fly in. The plexiglass keeps the cold weather out, and the smoke goes out the hole. When you're done with it, you unplug it and close the window, and you're all set. So I think that's a really nice solution for this. It seems really well manufactured. The plexiglass is like a 1/4 inch thick, so it's just really good. So we'll talk more about the laser enclosure as we use it, and then at the end of the video, hiding behind here is an upgraded laser module. So my laser is a 22 watt laser, and they've just come out with a 40 watt laser, and they contacted me and asked me if I wanted to have one of those, and I said sure, send it my way. So we're going to put that in there and see what we can cut with that. So here's the project. Sometimes I have little end cuts of scraps of stone, and this was glued onto a 2x4 at one point. It's actually a little bit crooked. It's wider at the bottom than at the top. But it's a really pretty stone, and other than just having it as a tumbled stone, there's not much to do with it. And what looks really cool is if you put it up to the light, and you can see light right through it. So I put a couple ideas together and thought, well, why don't I make a night light? This is a thin LED night light with the rock in front. And I've been thinking about doing this for a couple years. Not just with this slab, but with a lot of slabs. The problem is I couldn't figure out a nice way to I didn't want to just glue it on there, but a nice way to display it. So what I've decided to do is, well, you can see here on my computer screen, I've designed a wooden cover for the night light that will have a cutout of a butterfly, and then you'll see the rock through the cutout of the butterfly. So the first thing I need to do is cut out that wood and see how the enclosure does at getting the smoke out of my basement. I wanted to show off my little cabinets here. Got these drawers, slide out shelves, whatever you want to call them. That's where I keep my laser engraving supplies. So this is the wood I'll be using. This is 3mm plywood. That goes in there. Like that. There we go. So let's look at this enclosure a little bit. This is the fan that blows the smoke out. There's a light underneath here, which is really nice because without the enclosure around here, it wasn't as bright as with it around there, believe it or not, because of that light. It's right there close. It really does help things out. So the fan and the light go to a power cord that goes into the side here. So there's a port. It's a proprietary port just for that kind of plug. But the problem is, it also comes with an air pump. The original laser came with this air pump. This pumps air right to the laser, and it blows away the dust and the smoke and stuff, and it makes a cleaner cut. That goes into the same port. So when you have this, then you need this smart hub. So that comes with the enclosure if you buy it for the Delta model, which is what I have. And that allows you to plug 2 plugs into one hole. The problem is, in the instructions for this, it says if you use it with more than one plug, which would be always, or else you wouldn't use it, I would think, then you need a power adapter. So I had to separately buy another power adapter. I don't really know why that didn't just come with it, but it didn't. These are the little controllers. This is for the air pump, so I can turn that on, turn it up and down. This actually defaults to a 3 or 30%, I guess. And then when you turn the laser on, it automatically goes up to 100. So I really don't use that very often. I just had it turned off so you could hear me better. And then this is the fan, so I'll let you hear what that sounds like. Hear that come on? There, it's off. Let's do it the other way around. Let's turn this off. Here's the fan sound. That's the fan that's over there. So those both need to be on. So we'll leave them on. And oh, also the light controls here. So if I push this button, the light goes on and off. And by the way, there's not tons of room in the front here, but there is enough room to get in and use the touch screen. So it's not too bad. It's pretty roomy. All right, so lid goes down. That just Velcros on, and then there's magnets to hold it here. It has a nice window on the top. One nice thing about this is there's a, now you can't see it right now, but there's a shield around there, so the lasers, you're not seeing the laser directly, and there's a little window in front of it with that orange glass on it. Then there's another piece of orange glass here, plus I'm wearing safety glasses, which I think I'll continue to do. But this is nice because it keeps all that laser light inside the box, so if my wife comes down here, walks in the room or something, she's not going to be blinded. I have cut stuff inside of here already. I've never blown anything out the window yet, but it is a little bit dusty, and I wonder if the smoke in there is going to eventually make that hard to see through. But for right now, you can see in there really nicely. So let's go over to the computer, which of course is falling asleep. And I think I got this all ready to go, so I'm just going to hit start and see what happens. We got the fan on. Here we go. We can take a peek inside. So it is cutting. So we'll come back in a little bit and see how it turns out. Alright, so that was my very first time using this with the exhaust on. And I can't smell very much smoke out here. I can smell a faint smell of smoke, but nothing bad at all. Nothing that would upset me or bother me in the least. So I was a little bit concerned about that little tiny fan in there not being able to blow enough smoke out. But from what I've seen so far, it seems to be doing pretty well. I'm going to leave the lid closed for a minute. Let any extra smoke blow out of there. I don't see any smoke. Let's take a peek inside, see what it smells like in there. Well, there's a little smoke still in there, but it seems to be heading toward the fan, and I really can't smell much at all. So I think that's doing a really good job. Alright, so I gotta pull this thing out of here and get it put together and see if it worked. Okay, I've got all the pieces cut out, but I have to admit that I am not the engineer in the family. That's my son, and I miscalculated the length of that piece, and everything fit together a little looser than I was hoping for, so I made some adjustments there, and also the antenna on the butterfly were too thin so you couldn't really see light through them. So that's scrapped, and here's the new and improved one. This one fits together very tightly. This is not glued, but it's all stuck together. I will glue it. I notched these together so it would stick together like that. I've seen other boxes on the internet made like that, so I designed it that way. This I did not notch because I didn't want to see the notches around the outside. I don't mind if they're on the sides and the back and stuff, but I thought the front should be a little cleaner looking, so I'll just glue that on as is. So here's how this works. Here's the light. It's easier to see from the back. So this is just going to slide down over the light, and gravity will hold it in place because the top is there. So it looks sort of like that. Of course, I got to get the rock in there, so this rock will go in between, but right now it's too big. So I need to go to my saw and just cut off a little edge there, and then I'll glue that in there, glue it all up, and while that glue is drying, we'll work on the other project. My next project is installing the 40-watt laser module. So we've got some instructions, some odds and ends, little Allen wrenches. This looks like the module itself here. Get that out of there. Let's get this. This is those are spare lenses for it. And here's the laser itself. It's much bigger than the other one. And this is a little shield that goes on the bottom. So you got your little plastic part there. You can see through a little bit, and it just snaps on with magnets, just like the other one. Looks like a power supply over here, maybe? What do you have? Power supply. Another power supply. Alright, 2 power supplies. I'm not really sure why I need 2, but I'll figure that out later. 1 cord. And looks like some sort of little computery thing. Little circuit board. Obviously some stuff's going to be plugging into those, so don't know where that goes. I'm going to do this with the camera off, and I'll just let you know how it goes when I'm done. So it's been a couple of days, and that's because this has been really confusing to hook up. I do have it hooked up. I don't know if it's hooked up properly or not. It does work, but I'll talk more about why I'm a little bit concerned that maybe it's not hooked up properly in a little bit. This is the old one in my hand. Then it's smaller, the new one's bigger in every dimension. And one of the things that was not in the book, but I got through an email, is that you need to move this little stop. So this was in this hole, and I had to move it to that hole. And that's just because the new module is bigger, stops it right there. It keeps this from running into this. So easy enough to do, no problem there. I just wish it would have been in the manual. So the more confusing thing is this little guy. So this is called an ALC. I don't know what that means or what it stands for. It might be AlgoLaser controller. That's my best guess, but that's just a guess. Pretty much the only instructions for how to hook this thing up is right here in this picture. There's no written instructions. It just kind of shows you how to hook it up. So I did my best to do that, and I'll keep it short. But here's the ALC. There should be 4 wires going into it. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. 2 of the wires fit just fine. And these 2, and actually the third one did. This one did also. And this wire is just a different connector. There was no way, following this diagram, that I was going to get a wire to go into there. There's some other place I could have put it, but they didn't even have the right number of pins. So I tried to put it in there, and then that's where I started emailing and asking what's going on. And what they told me does not make any sense to me at all, but they said, you don't need this. That's only for people that don't have the 9-watt power supply. Which brings me to this power supplies. So this is the original power supply that came with the 22-watt laser module. These both came with the new 40-watt module. This is 7.5 watts. This is 6 watts, and this is 9 watts. This is the one I'm using. I could not get an answer for why there's a 6-watt module in there. Have no idea what that's for. It's not hooked up to anything. But I did hook this up directly to the machine. So it's just plugged into the side here. I didn't use this at all because they said I didn't need it. It's only for people that don't have the 9-watt power supply. But it comes with a 9-watt power supply. So why would this thing be in the box if a 9 watts power supply is also included with it, and it's only needed if you don't have one? I just don't understand. So I've hooked it up this way. Don't know if it's doing what it's supposed to do. It does cut. Everything seems good that way. It's a little different. The thing for adjusting this, you have a little screw here to loosen, and then the focusing rod comes down. On the other one, it was this thing. You just push this down, and then you push that and it springs back up. On this one, you have to push it down, push it back up. No big deal, but it's a little bit different. All right, so here's what my concern is. I just did a bunch of tests. This is supposed to cut through 50 millimeters of pine. So I've got a 2x4 here. It's a long 2x4, so I was putting it in there in an angle just to get it to fit. 50 millimeters is about 2 inches, and this is a 2x4, so 2x4s are only 1.5 inch thick. It's the rough sawn that's 2 inches. And here are my attempts to cut through it. So it says on their website that it cuts in one pass. Well, I got it, I'm running it at 100% power. This is 30 millimeters per minute is the speed it was going. And at that speed, it just burned really bad. And I tried some other ones on another different 2x4 before this, and it didn't go through. So I tried various settings, and if I flip it over here, you'll see that none of them went all the way through. This one I thought was going to work, and then it just got all burnt and still didn't go through. That was running at, which one is that? This one. 100% power, 80 millimeters per minute, and I did 3 passes. So this is the percent of the laser, this is how many millimeters per minute, and this is how many passes. And just none of them went through. So I do not think that you can cut, unless I'm doing something wrong, but I don't think you can cut a 2x4 with this. But maybe that's because I'm not using this. I don't know. Because I just cannot figure out what that thing's in the box for if it's not necessary. So I don't know if this is hooked up right. Kind of makes me a little bit worried since it's a powerful laser that cuts things. So I'm just a little bit worried about the whole thing. I do like this enclosure a lot though. This has been working great. I was a little bit concerned about that little tiny fan back there. I didn't know if that was going to blow enough air out, but that's keeping all the smoke out of the basement. I'm very happy with how this thing works. But I just don't know. They need better directions for this. It might be a great unit, but without better directions, it's just kind of scary. So anyhow, next thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to, with the new laser, I'm going to make a holder, a stand I guess I should call it, for my chains that I made the other day, or a few weeks ago. So this is just being laying on the desk, and I wanted to have it hanging up. So I am not impressed with my ability to design something like this. So I'm going to cut it out and show it to you, and if I decide I like it, I might use it, and if not, I either have to redesign it or use something different, or just leave it laying on the table. Alright, so I'm going to get this thing set up and start cutting out the pieces for that, and then I still have to show you the night light. That's turned out really nicely. Going well. I cut this at about twice the speed that I normally would cut 1/4 inch plywood. These two pieces fit together nicely. And this is the base. And it looks good here, but it's very burnt on the back. So I cut this at 75 millimeters per minute at 100% power. I think I'd either do 2 passes at half the power or twice the speed and maybe eliminate all that burning. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this piece and see if I even like this hanger before I make a new one. Alright, so this turned out pretty nice, I guess. I'm not sure about my design abilities. I really think it's cool that you can cut like a plus-shaped hole like that and just jam that down in there. Can't do that with regular woodworking tools very well. What I don't like is all the burnt around the edges. I don't know if there's a good way to deal with that other than just sanding it off, but if anybody knows what to do about burnt edges, I'd love to know. So what do you think of my little hanger? I haven't made up my mind if I like it or not. It's kind of cool, I guess. Alright, I have one more experiment I want to do with some rocks, so let me get set up for that and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. I engraved these 2 rocks with the original 22-watt laser module. They look like the same kind of rock, but I find that one rock will turn out light and another one will be really dark. So I cannot tell the difference in these rocks. Obviously there's something different about them because they engrave completely differently. So anyhow, what I'm going to do is on this one, I'm going to use the exact same settings and engrave the back and see if it comes out any darker. And on this one, since the 40-watt module is about 1.8 times more powerful than the 22-watt, I'm going to run this at 1.8 times the speed and see if it comes out the same. So if that's the case, I'll be able to get these done twice as fast as I could before. I like how they look before you wash them off. It's got all that dust around it. It looks like it's darker than it was before. I think this might be a success. Let me go rinse it off and I'll show you some more. Here's with the old laser module, and there's the new one at the exact same settings. That's a huge improvement. I'm super impressed with that. Alright, let's try the other one. So remember, with this one, I'm going to run it at almost twice the speed, 1.8 times the speed, and see if I get the same results. So we'll get that one set up now. Alright, I think that looks identical. I gotta wash it off and get the white dust off the edges there, but that looks like the same exact engraving on both sides. In almost half the time, a little over half the time, but I am really happy with that. Before I show you how the nightlight turned out, I just wanted to do a quick little recap of the products in this video. And the first one is this window insert. I am just very impressed with this. I'm happy with every aspect of it. This was made by Joe Martinson and actually several members of his family. It's a small family business. So check out their website and see if they've got a product that might help you. If you've got a similar situation, they've got them for all different kinds of windows. They answer their emails really quickly. I'm just really impressed with everything about that business. The second is the enclosure for the laser. I'm also happy with this. It did everything that it was advertised to do. It's getting the smoke out of my basement. The light is nice in there. I didn't tell you before, but the whole thing folds down flat. So if you're not using it and you want to store it, you can just fold it down really quickly and get it out of your way. There were two things I wasn't super happy about. One is that this is the hose that they give you with this. It's supposed to be 1 meter long. I think you'd have to really stretch it to get it to be a meter, but I can't imagine any application where this would be long enough. So I bought a much longer hose. And the other thing is there was no power supply for this smart hub. And if the directions are accurate, I need a power supply if I'm plugging 2 wires into it. So I think that should have been included. The third thing was the 40-watt laser module. And I have mixed feelings about this. It seems to be much more powerful, as it's supposed to be. It didn't cut through 2 inches of wood. It didn't cut through 1.5 inches of wood. But what's most concerning to me is all the extra parts in the box. That little ALC computer module thing, I just don't understand what that's for, and I'm using it without it, and it just makes me nervous. So I think it's a good product. I think they just need to improve their directions by a lot. So here's the little night light. I had it hiding back here. I've stained it. I put some polyurethane on it. There's the back. Remember, the whole thing just slips down over top of this. Doesn't look as pretty from the back, but you're not going to be looking at that side. And, oops, see if I can get it back on there with one hand. There we go. And it looks really cool plugged in. The light shines through the rock just like I was hoping. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. So thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you next time.